Go. All right. All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 37 of the Below Yellow Line podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Landy Pavlon. Alongside with me, I have Justin Hebert, and our special guest from ladiesofspeed.org, we have Jessy Miller.
Hello.
This will cover, we just have the FIA World Endurance Championship cap off their 2019 leg of their 2019-2020 season, which was the 8 hours of Bahrain. So let's get into that in just a little bit. Toyota redeemed after the controversial race that took place at Shanghai with the new FIA power rules for the LMP1 class, which showed privateers an actual advantage over the factory-built Toyota hybrids, Justin.
Yep.
And Rebellion won the race.
Yep. But Rebellion had speed early.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, until something happened to their.
Well, actually, the incident took place on the first corner of the first lap because, Rebellion got hit from behind by the Team LNT Ginettas.
Oh gosh, the LNTs.
And not to mention, they did make a few unscheduled pit stops, but it's not uncommon to see someone finish a few laps down in an endurance race.
But they have enough time to rebound because the next race is in 2020, literally in February at Kona, so they have time.
Let's get into the class results, starting with the LMP1 class. The number 7 Toyota redeemed to win the race over the number 8 Toyota.
Wow, the 8 has only won one race. The 7 has been good this season.
In third place was the number 1 Rebellion that actually started on pole and had the incident on lap 1, and as long as a few others, and they dropped to third in class. And then the Team LNT number 6 finished fourth, while the number 5 Team LNT Ginetta finished in fifth, numerous laps down. In fact, I think the 5 retired from the race.
Yeah, the 5 had more damage, so we know the 5 didn't get fifth overall, but they got fifth in class.
I'm sure they're under hot water with the FIA after that lap 1 incident. Ooh. You hate to see that in an 8-hour race. Yeah. Now let's move on to LMP2 class. It's been a whole one-sided United Autosports show.
Oh my God.
They never look back from start to finish.
I should stop picking other teams. The one time I keep picking.
Who did I pick for this race, Justin? I can't remember.
You picked the Jackie Chan 37.
And they got in fact, their sister car, which is now under the Joda Sport team, number 38, finished second.
Okay.
While the G-Drive Racing, who is usually a very steady favorite car, number 26, finished fourth, and the Signatech Alpine L finished fifth.
I did pick the 36.
See, the Alpine car is usually better at Le Mans because they are a French team, and with the track in France, they have more practice time, even though it's mostly just the Bugatti circuit because, yes, it's public roads for literally every point of the year except for the Le Mans 24-hour week.
Yeah.
Now in the GT classes, we're going to go through this quick. The number 95 Aston Martin put on a great show, winning over the number 71 Ferrari. The number 97 Aston Martin finished third, and the 51 Ferrari got fourth. The 2 Porsches struggled in the end. Number 91 got fifth, and the number 92 Porsche finished sixth.
My pick was the number 92.
Who did I pick? I think I picked Aston Martin, number 97.
No, you picked you picked the 51.
Oh, the Ferrari, yes, they finished fourth.
But the GT Am was the 57, I think?
Yes, the Team Project One Porsche. Now, if you remember them, they were known for the wrong reasons after the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year, when the Ben Keating team, which was owned by the Wins Racing brand, got disqualified after what would have been a Cinderella story class victory in their Ford GT privateer.
Don't know what's weird. I picked them every race, but they kept getting second because the 90 won. I'm like, I'll pick the 90. That's when the 90 does not win.
No, they didn't even finish in the top 5.
I'm like, the 90, get up front. They were like in the back half the race.
Yeah, that was not a good one for them. The number 98 Aston Martin Racing Vantage finished second. The number 86 Gulf Racing Porsche finished third. Number 83 AF Corsa Ferrari finished fourth, and the number 54 AF Corsa Ferrari finished fifth. And the standings look like this after the Bahrain. So after 4 races, it's an 8-race championship. So we're now halfway through the season. Toyota leads in LMP1 with 108 points claimed over the Rebellion with 67 points, and Team LNT with 29 points in third. LMP2 class, number 37, Jackie Chan DC Racing, has 72 points over the number 22, United Autosports with 69 points. Number 29, Racing Team Netherlands, all Dutch team,
Yeah.
have 66 points, while the number 38, Jota Sport, has 62 points in fourth, and the number 36, Signatech Alpine Elf, has 56 points in fifth. The GTE Pro class, Aston Martin have 11-point lead over Porsche, over Ferrari. And Ferrari is 53 points behind the leader. They need to catch up. And it's tight because there's not only 3 manufacturers. So the bragging rights are higher than usual in that class.
We know that Ford left and BMW, like the Ford gas.
And Corvette only runs the races in Le Mans and Sebring. And GTE AM class, the most competitive class, has a tie for the points lead. Number 57, Team Project 1 Porsche, and the number AF Corsa Ferrari, number 83 of Corsa Ferrari. No. They have 75 points claimed, while the number 98 Aston Martin Racing has 60.5 points in third, while the TF Sport number 90 Aston Martin, the pick you had, Justin, they're fourth in the championship with 58 points claimed, and the number 70 MR Racing Ferrari sit fifth with 42 points. So there you have it. And their next race is not until February 23rd, which is the Lone Star Le Mans, which is a 6-hour race at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Now, that race was to be
6 hours to Sao Paulo.
6 hours to Sao Paulo and Interlagos. However, due to track conditions and poor promotion of the race, they had to relocate to another event, and they relocated the date, which I'm glad they did too. I think that's more important than relocating at all.
But I was also thinking about COTA. What? Because it's in America, is there going to be Corvette racing?
I mean, listen, Corvette Racing used to run the full season in the WEC, but I think there's a higher chance that they could race at Circuit of the Americas because they're closer.
Because WEC, no, IMSA, they race January.
Yes, they raced for the full North American Cup.
But then they're gonna race in March, so they have They have like a month break between. They have like a big They have like less than 2 months between Daytona and Sebring. They have a big gap right there, which they could.
And that gap is now filled with the COTA race.
Yep.
So yeah, there you have it, and pretty much that's the last major event in racing of 2019. Yeah, even though this is a 2020 championship, but yeah. There are no upcoming races this week. However, we'll get into the key events that take place over the winter break later on in the episode. So we have Jessy Miller here, and we're going to start off with a few questions. And if you don't know, Jessy Miller is a journalist from ladiesofspeed.org, as they cover NASCAR. Not sure what year they began, but Jessy started covering Team Penske in 2016. That's where I want to lead you off. What made you join ladiesofspeed.org?
Well, I had only recently gotten into NASCAR a couple of years before I joined, and I was tweeting a lot, and I was having a lot of fun with it online, and one of the co-owners, Kate Kinnett, reached out to me, and she asked if I wanted to cover a driver. And I said yes, and we talked it over. And eventually she talked me into taking all of Team Penske, which was a lot at first, but it turned out to be really fun, and I've gotten to do so many awesome things because of it. I love it so much.
Now, while you covered Team Penske at the start of your journalist life, what was your favorite memory covering that team? Like, if you can look back at that.
So do you mean like racing memory or just like all together memory?
I guess all together.
Okay. My favorite thing was when I would meet people and we would sit there and we'd like text back and forth during the race. We'd be like, wow, did you see that? And I'd be like, yeah, did you see this? I think it was so cool to like meet so many people because of it. I think that's my favorite part.
Yeah, and of course, we saw the addition of Ryan Blaney racing full-time with Penske in 2018. Um, speaking of Ryan Blaney, when he was young, just when he was in his mid-teens,
Mhm.
around 15, 16, 17 years old, he was actually coming through the ranks of his father, Dave. And I remember watching him go into the truck series and winning for the first time
Yeah.
at Iowa. And I'm like, oh, wow, this kid's really good. And
Mhm.
then he goes starts beating these cup drivers in the Xfinity series. He never raced a full-time season, by the way, in Xfinity.
Yeah.
I'm like, just watching this, and I'm like, okay, he's going in the Cup Series right from there. So going into Ryan Blaney now, do you think how established of a driver is Ryan Blaney going to be the next 5 years?
I think he's going to keep getting better as the years go on because you kind of can see it as well, like with his first win in Pocono and then the Roval run. I think he's going to keep getting more and more wins as the years go on because he's a really good driver, in my opinion.
Yeah. And Justin, I know we've been seeing a lot of Ryan Blaney at the family table, and some other driver is there too. I'm not going to get into that. That being, of course, William Byron, but I'm not going to play that game. But William Byron, of course, we'll get into him a little bit later. I think Ryan Blaney's going to score 4 wins next year, which is a prediction that I wanted to save for a while. But since we're talking to someone who used to be with Team Penske, I feel like that's the best thing I could do is just spill the beans. But
well, Ryan Blaney still has to beat Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano.
True.
Should they have experience with because they both won championships so far? So they're gonna be tough. Logano and Keselowski.
Yeah, I know because like Joey Logano, you know, it's another driver, even like Ryan Blaney, because his rookie year was 10 years ago in 2009 when he drove for Joe Gibbs Racing. I was a NASCAR fan since like a very little kid. So I saw Joey Logano from the start to where he's at now. And he's really matured as a driver, just everything altogether. He's going to be 30 for Pete's sake. I can't believe we're going to, like, he's actually 30.
Yeah, in May he'll do 30 in May.
And Logano was considered the 5th Beetle to the championship for this year for good reason. He really had a shot to back up that title in 2019, did he?
Yeah, he was consistent. Except the round of 12.
Dude, when he had that spin cycle at Kansas, my mind was like, no, he somehow retained it.
But also, one reason he made it, Brad got put in the wall by Paul Menard of all cars, which basically affiliate Wood Brothers, puts him in the wall, gives Brad damage.
And speaking of the Wood Brothers, I do have another question. Heading to Matt DiBenedetto. He's been the talk for pretty much the entire silly season. Coming into Wood Brothers Racing from the Levine family. Now that he's in a better car with a more established and experienced crew and a team, will we see that 100th win for the Wood Brothers in 2020?
Ooh. I think that's a definite possibility because I think he's definitely going to start running up a little bit higher, I believe. I think we're going to see a lot more of him next year, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Blaney. Matt DiBenedetto.
Matt DiBenedetto, yeah.
I don't know why I went to Ryan Blaney. Matt DiBenedetto has surprised the living ants out of my pants. It's like, okay, he led the most laps of the Daytona 500. We kind of get it. Daytona is a underdog track a little bit.
Remember, Sonoma was the first best finish. He got 4th.
Yeah, when he finished 4th at Sonoma, that's what really raised my eyebrows.
And then Watkins Glen, he got a good finish. He started building those finishes.
Bristol,
he led laps.
That's the race that got me.
But and people and Ryan Newman was kind of like.
I said at one point while he was leading on Skype, because Justin and I, we go on Skype all the time during the race. I said to Justin, no matter what happens from here, this is like about 105 laps to go. DiBenedetto just took the lead. Yeah. I said, no matter what happens from here to the finish, Matt DiBenedetto has officially solidified his place in the NASCAR Cup Series.
Mm-hmm. Because he took the lead from Eric Jones, which Eric Jones was driving for a Gibbs car, full Gibbs car, but Levine Family Racing was not like fully with their alliance, but they decided to put the full alliance because now Christopher Bell's going in that car, but they put but like he really performed. Even his wife was sitting in the grandstands watching Matt Benedetto, which he was so close until lap traffic. Ryan Newman doing Ryan
Just
Newman
being
things.
very unapologetic. I do remember that. And
then,
Denny Hamlin had enough time and room to get by. But you know what? Hamlin didn't walk away from that either. He still had to fend off Matt Benedetto
yeah,
to the very end. So there were two races that Matty D led the most laps in, Daytona and Bristol. I think that's not the last time you're going to see it. He'll be in victory lane for sure because he's a guy that works twice as hard.
Yeah, and I was so happy when Paul Menard, when he decided to retire, to get Matt Benedetto in the car. Like, nobody expected Paul Menard to say, "Go get Matt." That's what he said.
I didn't either. I was very surprised.
Yeah, he decided to get Matt Benedetto first into that car, which was really good for Matt Benedetto.
Right. So now let's move on to the next question here. We got a lot to talk about when it comes to silly season for sure, because silly season is always a brewing. It's always a brewing pot. You just keep stirring it, and you add more ingredients, and it just keeps getting flavor. That's silly season for you, and especially going into the 2020 season.
Yeah, a lot of new things, new news coming out.
Yeah, for sure.
Last couple weeks, including today,
and there's a lot to look forward to. I think in the 2020 season, I mean, we let's hold that conversation for later because I do want to get into this next question for you, Jesse. 2018, you started to cover Harrison Burton. As we all know, he's the son of Jeff Burton, nephew of Daytona 500 winner Ward. They, of course, are synonymous with racing and success and decent career of Jeff Burton himself. Because I grew up watching little Harrison in the pit box, watching his dad Jeff win races for Richard Childress and Jack Roush, and now Harrison's taken that role.
Yeah.
How ready is he for the NASCAR Xfinity Series?
If you take a look at his finishes in the Xfinity Series versus his finishes in the Truck Series, he gets higher finishes in the stock cars. I think he's going to do a good job and surprise a lot of people personally. And that's not because I cover him for Ladies of Speed.
But I think he's ready. He's already got 5 top 10s and a top 5 in this NASCAR Xfinity Series races that have been taking place at tracks such as Iowa, which is career best to 4th. Richmond, very solid race at Richmond. I mean, that could be his home track because he's from Virginia, started and finished 6th, and his race at Texas was very decent, I think.
But there's some races where it's not that good, like New Hampshire. Remember the incident with him and Paul Menard? Different incidents like at Homestead, Justin Haley came up on him, ripped the front of the 18 and then the back bumper of the.
But he managed a 10th place finish.
Yeah,
so it wasn't all that bad.
Yeah, his front bumper was damaged and still managed to get a good finish in that car. And
absolutely,
I think he's gonna. Sorry, I think he's gonna improve a lot with the more experience he gets. I think the better he's gonna start getting more consistent high finishes.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna run a good number of truck races for Kyle Busch Motorsports, like he did, of course, this year running the full season and last year doing the part-time. I'm sure he's gonna go back to part-time racing. He needs to, in my opinion.
He'll probably split the truck with Kyle Busch and Chandler Smith, which we know he's gonna most likely do that. And plus, he might have some pressure replacing Christopher Bell, because you know what Christopher Bell did in that 20 car recently.
He killed it.
Yeah, and plus before him we had Eric Jones, which Eric Jones did good in that 20 car. So there's gonna be some pressure, but he just has to learn these cars.
Yep.
All right. We just got let me say Danny Ajero. Sorry to cut you off, Justin, but Danny Ajero 48. I think we all know who he is. He's been on a podcast too. I have a question for Jesse. What are your thoughts on Custer moving to Stewart-Haas Racing?
I was a little bit surprised and also a little bit not surprised that he would end up with SHR. I am very interested to see how that's going to go next season, and I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
I think Cole Custer's ready, my opinion, but just
I feel like he
at
should
the
bring.
expense of Daniel Suarez.
Well, I think that.
I mean, I'm still not the biggest fan of that, but at the same time, if there's anybody out there who's going to replace Daniel Suarez, it's got to be Cole Custer, and I think he is ready.
But some people think that Cole Custer is daddy's money because his father Joe is the COO of.
CNC, but I don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry too
Oh,
much either way. It's not like we've
remember
seen
when
some other cases of drivers who are just going out there and wasting equipment. He's
remember
absolutely worthy of a cup ride.
Joseph, remember
Mhm.
2018 Richmond, where Cole Custer had some Stewart Haas equipment, not fully Stewart Haas equipment, a Rick Ware car qualified 11th. That Rick Ware Racing 51.
Yeah, back when you had the rounds, wasn't he fifth in Q2?
Yeah, he was fifth in somehow round 2 of qualifying, which I'm like, how does that happen? But Cole Custer has talent. He was so close to winning the championship in Xfinity. He had so many wins, which now we don't know if there'll be another car for Stewart Haas. We know Briscoe's returning, and yeah. So I feel like Custer will do decent in his rookie year.
So yeah, I think Custer's ready, and the 2020 rookie class is unbelievably large.
Oh,
We
oof.
we have, of course, our newest addition is Brendan Poole.
Six rookies. Six rookies.
6 rookies. I can name them all. I know we have Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Cole Custer. Basically, the 3 main components of the 2019 Xfinity Series. Then you add in Brendan Poole and Quinn Half,
And John Arnemechek.
John Nemechek. So now we're at 6.
Six rookies.
These are all very talented drivers, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then, of course, the Daytona 500, we got 7 rookies because we have a newest addition, Jonathan Bird racing with Hayward Motorsports. James Davison will race both the Daytona 500 and Indianapolis 500. And, of course, Davison is from Melbourne, Australia, who is GT3 driver for Aston Martin right now.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of experience in his books.
His first NASCAR oval race, because he's only raced Xfinity at road courses, and he's raced Indy 500, but Indy cars and NASCAR stock cars at ovals are 2 different things. He has to learn.
He was the fill-in driver for the then injured Sebastian Bourdais the 2017 Indianapolis 500. Remember, there were only 33 entries, therefore he immediately made the race.
Yeah,
even though he crashed in qualifying.
Bourdais crashed in day 1 of qualifying, which was.
Looks like Noel Chari scored the first goal as a Panther. I know this is not a hockey podcast, but I'd like to point it out.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Oh, you got the game too?
Yeah, I got in the Sens region because it's Senators.
TSN?
Yep.
I figured.
I was thinking about I feel like the rookie class might be tough, but people are saying about premium being good. I'm like, no, premium. They have ECR engines, which is the RCR engine.
Maybe it'll be good for like 1 or 2 races. Usually, when they have more equipment on the bigger events.
Yeah, like we've seen the plate tracks. There's some.
They have to.
Ross Chastain got a top 10 in the Daytona 500.
After Spire Motorsports and what happened with Justin Haley at the Daytona 400, they absolutely need to do something about, if Spire of all teams can find a way in victory lane, I don't care how it happened, then it seems like Premium and Wicker Racing are going to have to answer that cue.
About hiring Brendan Poole. People are saying about Brendan Poole's being bad. He finished second.
He's ready.
He finished second in the On Point Motorsports truck. A broken track bar with no power steering, which is hard to drive.
And who did he chase down to win that race?
Kyle Busch.
Exactly. He's beyond ready. But critics are going to be there. No matter where you find them, that's the tough thing. It's hard to let them go, but it's best that they should.
Yeah.
He's ready, in my opinion. Yeah. Now, in a car like that, is it really worth having one driver the entire 36 race season? Maybe not. But with a guy like Brendan Poole, I think he could salvage some top 30 finishes, which is what their goal should be.
They'll probably bring out the non-charter 27, like with Joe Nemechek and Ross Chastain, possibly. If Ross wants to run some races, but we know he'll be running.
And then maybe they may be add a third car for the Daytona 500. This is what they usually do.
they put the 27, 15, and probably a number maybe 9.
Well, actually, the 27 car for the Daytona 500 was fielded by Germain Racing, and Casey Mears drove the car.
Which he didn't. He finished last place, got a point.
All right, so I'm just gonna look at the headlines that we have for.
Oh.
All right, do you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Better not happen again. It's my mic. I gotta get a new one.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the headlines that we've had in this week. As you guys know, after the moment we got off the podcast last week, Stephen Nasse got excluded from the race results of the Snowball Derby, giving the win to Travis Braden.
Which Travis Braden did start 30th to win that.
Very impressive for anybody to start that far back on a short track race to win.
When we got off, I'd like, oh, Stephen Nasse got disqualified.
I was so tired, and I was just preparing for finals. I
literally checked the next morning. I'm like, I see on the headlines, I'm like, Stephen Nasse disqualified, gives wins to Bray. I'm like, oh, I guess he got disqualified.
And let's see what else we have here. Holden will discontinue their legendary car brand, the Commodore. So after many years and decades of Holden's trademark sedan, General Motors had decided to pull the plug on the Commodore, which therefore will affect Holden and their possible brand showcasing in their future of the Supercar series. So we'll get to it in a little bit. But personally, I really wish GM could have done something different to keep the car alive. I mean, they have all the money, so they should find a way to keep things like that alive.
Holden basically Chevrolet, basically.
Yeah, it's General Motors.
Yeah, but why can't they put a Chevy Camaro or something out there?
Which is a good question. There has been Chevrolets at races like Bathurst, but remember, in the primary GM brand in Australia is Holden. So, and I know Holden's plants have been different lately. Their Australian factories are gone. They basically rebadged Opels and Chevrolets and Buicks into Opels nowadays, which has caused some controversy because, they're not really being made in Australia anymore. But that's for another story. Let's see what else we have here. Ty Majeski to Nice Motorsports in the 2020 Truck Series season. He'll contend for Rookie of the Year as well as the championship.
And yeah, he replaces Ross in the 45, which he ran one race. He didn't run many races.
Listen, Majeski's ready, in my opinion.
Like he almost won the race that he won.
He almost won Pensacola.
He almost won the Snowball Derby until the restart.
That restart, he just messed it up.
Casey Roderick really
he was over aggressive and
have the field wreck, and that gave Nasse the win until Nasse got disqualified, which really sucked for him.
Nasse finished first physically, but
then
in tech he didn't.
Braden finished
second physically,
and then he got the win, which Travis Braden's first race at first Snowball Derby, impressive because he's raced ARCA there, but not the Snowball Derby.
And knowing how competitive the Snowball Derby is, a list of DNQs include Harrison Burton and 5-time winner, the winningest driver at Pensacola, Rich Bickle.
And also Carson Hosfar that caused the crash with Rich Bickle, which
was in the LCQ race. Yeah, there was about 60-plus entries for a 37-car field, so it was tough to get in.
But we also had wit draws in that race, too.
All right, we got another question here. This is from Danny again. Will BMW be part of the supercars? If so, what model do they put in the series? I think we've gone through this in a few episodes prior to tonight. Walkinshaw Andretti United is the best candidate to bring a BMW into the supercar series. I think the M4 will probably be the one that they use.
Remember the other day what I was saying about supercars? When BMW, Walkinshaw, and Andretti leaked the photo about BMW and supercars literally fined them for doing that.
Is it true or is it not?
Yeah, it was true. Supercars literally.
But wait, is their actual BMW plans going to work?
No, there's no BMW.
Which kind of sucks because there's no third-party manufacturer. We've brought this 2010s in the supercar series is probably going to be known for the third-party manufacturers. When I say third-party in Australia, the two main components of the supercar series is Holden and Ford.
Yep.
It's like black and white. And then you go find third-party manufacturers. We had Mercedes join, Volvo, and most recently Nissan. And Nissan, of course, was the last of those three to pull out. Now you can add in possibly BMW.
Well,
I would like to see a third-party manufacturer go back.
What about Toyota Camry?
That was the first thing that came to mind, other than Volvo, because I'm a Volvo guy. But Toyota would be working. I drive a Lexus, so it kind of makes sense because that is a Toyota. I think also a Toyota Avalon might work. Has the same body frame as the supercars, but the Camry would probably make more sense. And then Super 2s, you run a smaller Camry.
I know they're not going to run the Supra because a Toyota Supra.
No.
That would not look.
Listen, I'm a fan. I love Toyotas. Don't get me wrong, but the Supra in the Xfinity series still gets my head scratching. I mean, it would have been better if they used something like the Corolla or keep the Camry.
Yeah,
but
the Camry was good
because it would make more sense for that body style of a car. Does that make any sense? Does that work?
The Toyota Supra in the supercars wouldn't look good.
I mean, listen, it's not a bad car, but maybe the placement of it kind of isn't as ideal. I do like the safety cars that we've seen on the racetrack.
2021 Gen 7 Toyota Supra in the Cup Series. We know the Gen 7's possibly 2021, possibly 20.
Hey, I would like to see a Honda Accord someday. No, but that's for another discussion. We did get into
Mini Cooper.
So Daniel Pinkham did say that Toyota used to race in supercars, and that is a true statement. They did race in the past, so it was always a possibility. Mini Cooper. Did you say Mini Cooper, Justin?
Yes, Mini Cooper in the Cup Series.
I actually remember test driving a Mini Cooper while I was searching for my car. It turns out to be an IS250 Lexus. And the Mini Coopers, I mean, it's a fun car to drive. Don't get me wrong, I love driving it. It's a driver's car. But the thing is, I'm 6'1", and like the top of the roof is like here, and my head's here. It's a very uncomfortable ride. You have to adjust the seat and all that.
It would be hard for Michael Waltrip to drive because Michael's 6'5". Like Buddy Baker was 6'8", so
he's the gentle giant, Buddy Baker.
He would be driving that. Oh, that would hurt his head after a while. Driving that on banking and then bumps, hitting the bumps with that car. Oh, that would hurt.
All right. Let's see. Moving on. Okay. Yeah, I think we already talked about Braden Poole going into the Cup Series. DJR team.
You meant
DGR Crosley Racing, not DJR Team Penske.
No.
DGR Crosley Racing.
Yeah.
We'll switch from Toyotas to Fords in 2020. I spelled it wrong.
And they hired Tanner Gray. Announced today, Tanner Gray will drive the number 15 Ford.
Yeah. Another question by Daniel Pinkham. He's also a good friend of mine. Here's an interesting opinion. Mazda back in supercars? I would like to see that. As a third-party manufacturer in the supercar series, Mazda could be a great candidate. I think, they have the Mazda 6, which kind of has the good frame and shape that would be an ideal supercars model that would contend against Holden and Ford. I think I would like to see them back. If I'm not mistaken, there are Mazdas in the Super Ute series, which is a support series that have pickup trucks.
Oh, the Super Utes. I just remembered about them.
Mm-hmm. Tom Alexander, I believe that's the name of the champion.
Yeah,
he drove in a Suzu.
Yeah, drove in 20.
D-Max.
He won, yeah.
Remember, they used to sell those here. RX-7 in supercars, I would like to see that, if they spec it right. But, of course, the RX-7 is not really a thing anymore. Although I would like to see it back someday. That would be
RX.
great.
Oh. They could have used. How about an RX-12 if that exists?
I mean, if I had the hands in Mazda's headquarters, I would put one together, but I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe in 20 years.
Yeah, the RX-12.
Let's see what else we have here. It's 2021. Yeah, John Arter Nemechek confirmed to go to Front Row Motorsports in the 2020 season. What'd you guys think?
I feel like it's good. He replacing David Reagan, which they needed a driver because Matt Tiff sidelined because his help. They only had Michael McDowell in the 34, but the 38 needed a driver, which they didn't want to take like Ty Majeski because.
Listen, sorry, keep going, Justin.
I was gonna say Ty Majeski, he deserves a better ride than Front Row, but Nemechek, he did good in those 3 races in the 36. Texas, he impressed me.
Very well.
He finished better than his teammates and outqualified his teammate. And that was his first Cup start. And he was racing his dad Joe Nemechek. Because, Joe was in that racing for premium.
Yeah, Daniel Pickup just saying in the chat. I thought John Hunter was replacing Matt Tiff, not David Ranger. Well, the 36 team is reported. There's rumored to shut down.
They actually they sold their charter to the 52 Rick Ware. So Rick Ware will have 2 full charters.
Listen,
including one of them will be JJ Yaley for the full season.
I want to get into something because we do know back when Front Row Motorsports had a 2-car operation, they will always operate a 3rd car for the big races such as Daytona or the Talladega 500. Always the Daytona 500.
They did that in 2014. Firstly, they had the 35 basically.
2016, don't you mean?
No, I mean the 35 started 2013. Josh Wise ran the full season. 2014 ran part-time David Rudeman. 2015 they brought it full-time for 1 season with Cole Witt. Remember, Cole Witt drove the Speed Stick 35. Then 2016, this is where they ran part-time 35 David Gillen with 34 of Busher, 38 of Landon Castle. And then after that happened, remember, then the 35 did not race until they brought the 36 because the reason they got the 36, they bought the 3rd car and everything. The assets of they outbid GMS Racing to buy BK. They had a $2 million thing, a $2 million.
It's bizarre.
But GMS only paid $1 million, so $2 million. GMS got outbid.
It's like a double investment and then just dropping all the cash for someone else.
They got the 36 car.
Yeah.
And
then Matt Tift would join in.
And then Crafton drove it at Martinsville for his 2nd Cup start because Matt Tift had a seizure.
Right.
Before practice,
and he's unfortunately stepping away from racing, which is not what anybody wants to see.
Remember when he was supposed to run most of the season in 2016 for Joe Gibbs in the 18? He had a seizure removed, tumor removed.
Tumor. It was July. It was July 4th weekend at Daytona.
David Reagan drove it, and then the races where
he almost won that race, by the way.
The races Tiff's supposed to drive. Guess who drove those races?
Kyle Busch. Well, that was actually the last year before the limits were really increased, and then they really increased it. Now they're like 5 or nothing.
Yeah, it's basically that.
But yeah, you hate to see a driver get pulled from the car like that. Blake, how's it going? Pretty good. How about you guys? I'm doing spectacular. I just finished my fall semester, and my rants about nutrition class are finally over. I got a C in there, and I have 2 A's in psych and sociology, so I'm all fine. And I know you're still going on senior year, Justin.
Yeah.
I just finished my fall semester too.
Yeah, I'm kind of formatting my spring classes already. So far, my provisional schedule has only 2 courses, not 3. So, the 2 courses I selected will be on Tuesdays, Thursdays.
Okay.
Not being a class on a Monday or Wednesday, or basically, in other words, I can have the whole money to myself.
Okay.
And have all that Joe time.
I'm excited because for me the 20th, just Friday is my last day of classes until January 6th because it's the Christmas break. I have 2 weeks. not going to school, and then I go back to school until the end of the first semester, which is end of January.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, is not bad.
And do you know when you're graduating?
I'm graduating. I know it's June 2020. The diploma's Sunday morning, June 21st. So basically, I was saying, it's basically the same day as the cup race at Chicagoland. That's when I graduate. The same morning of the Chicagoland Cup race. Which remember, Chicagoland's before Pocono now. Both Pocono races are after. Which, yeah, Pocono doubleheader, which I'd be hyped to see Joe.
Yeah, it's working.
On IMSA. Oh my gosh, are you commentating IMSA, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, I would not mind bother. I wouldn't bother.
I'm gonna be excited. But
hesitating before signing up to do that. I would immediately write myself in for that. If I wanted to do that, I would go and knock on their doors.
But we have already good commentators like Lee Diffie. We have
they're the ones who really worked for it. So I wouldn't want to see them anywhere else. Although I'm sure NBC, if you see me, I know you could put us on NASCAR America next week. I'd be damn glad.
That would be hard for me to get there from where I live. Yeah. Like, that would be weird being on NASCAR America.
I mean, someone has to commentate the night hours for Rolex 24, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Just sign me up.
Joseph, for you, when you watch Rolex 24, when it's on the app, you'll have to watch it on a stream. But for Canada, I'm not calling it lucky, but even when it goes onto the app, Discovery Velocity in Canada just shows the whole thing.
You watch the worldwide feed. They showed the IMSA radio worldwide feed.
No, they simulcast NBC.
Oh, did they? Because last year they didn't.
They did. They're doing that this year. Even when it's on the app, they simulcast NBC Sports app.
So I mean, someone's gonna cover that, right? I mean, I would just be on there with the microphone.
The only thing is that race. Every other race, Velocity has 1 month preview because the Barrett-Jackson auctions are, at the same time. Basically, it's a 1 month thing, and then after that, I have to pay like $12 for it, but I don't have money to pay $12.95 for that one channel. So
let's move on, and we got some other things to talk about. So we were from John Nemechek, and no, Kyle Petty's too good to be replaced by me.
Oh, except that glitch when he was blue.
I would like to work with Kyle Petty someday. Let's see. On the 2021 FIA World Endurance Championship schedule has been revealed. Kota and Shanghai will be out, while Kalami, the track in South Africa, and Monza will be added to the schedule. And 6 hour, and the Silverstone race will become a 6 hour race.
Wait.
So no longer a 4 hour race; it'll be back to a 6 hour race. I think that's a good decision on their part.
What track would it be at Monza? Would it be the regular?
Yeah, the normal circuit. By the way, Daniel Pickham, another comment here saying, World Racing Media, did you guys cover Scott Dixon coming to B12 with Aston Martin? Yes, the Bathurst 12 hours does have 5-time IndyCar champion Scott Dixon, a Kiwi himself, will be racing in the Line Down Under for the 12-hour race in Bathurst,
which is January.
It's the week after the Rolex 24.
Yeah, basically January 25th. 31st to the basically December 2nd, when the day of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
February 2nd, not
December. It's always for us it's the Saturday. It's on a Sunday for them, but it's Saturday for them.
I said December 2nd. Yes, December 2nd's
No. That would be talking about Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. No.
February 2nd. Because February's after January, not December. We don't go December, January, December. No, it goes to February.
Yeah. So there you have it. It's going to be very interesting. We'll get more into that later. Let's see. Felix Sabates, happy retirement, owner of Sabco Racing, and of course, which became Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates, Earnhardt Ganassi Racing, all that deal. He's been with Chip from pretty much start to finish of his NASCAR ownership. With the famous yellow 42 car by Kyle Petty and Sterling Marlin's 40 Coors Light car. Let's see, Jamie McMurray, Juan Montoya, all those guys, Larson. If it weren't for Felix Sabates, those drivers wouldn't have the careers they've had.
McMurray, when he won the 500 in the number 1 Chevrolet.
Yes, 2010 Daytona 500 win. In fact, their only Daytona 500 victory for Sabco and Chip Ganassi Racing total.
And their last and then
of course their last win meeting Kyle Larson at Dover.
And 2014 was the first time without the Earnhardt Ganassi, which they had to change the number 1 font to another font because they had the DEI font.
Yes.
Teresa.
That's another story. Yeah, but
that's
good for Felix and happy retirement. It will suck not to see him in the garage anymore, but he had a very sufficient ownership career. And if you look at his story, coming from poverty and where he's at today, it's a great story. You should look it up. Moving on. Goodyear tires to support LMP2 cars next season. So yeah, and Goodyear tires are already supporting the LMP2 class, but next season they'll be the sole tire provider for that category.
Okay,
so there's that. And James Davison, and we were talking about him a little bit earlier, but James Davison announced on social media earlier this week that he will attempt the 2020 Daytona 500 and the 2020 Indianapolis 500, driving for Hayward Motorsports and Jonathan Bird's Racing.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
This was a very similar deal that Danica Patrick did in 2018 to cap off her racing career when she ran the Daytona 500, driving in a premium motorsports car, and the Indianapolis 500 was ready?
Nope, Carpenter.
Carpenter Racing.
She crashed in both races. I just realized she crashed in the 500 with
but she had a much better performance than Indy either way.
Yeah, she crashed.
Danny, I believe it's for both. When it comes to the Goodyear deal in the LMP2 class, but yeah, Danica Patrick, although she made both races, it was still not the best successful thing. Maybe James Davison can do it a little better and show others that you can race both the Daytona and Indy 500 in the same year and be successful. It should be very interesting. But the first step, get the track experience, make the race.
Yeah, because there's more than 40 entries for sure. We're going to see.
I think we're going to see a lot of entries for Daytona.
We're also seeing there's going to be not just a 66 for Carl Long. There'll be a 46 running the 500 probably with Joey Gase. And a second, they've only won one race in that 46 at Kansas, which both cars made the race because,
the field's not been complete most of the time anyways in 2019.
Like, the problem is
we've been under 40 cars.
The problem is it costs so much money to field a cup team these days.
But they're going to put everything into it if it means a Daytona 500. So
probably Rick Ware's going to enter like 4 cars.
Who knows? But that adds to the fruits of why racing is great in the first place.
Yeah, we might see Rick Ware not crash on pit road. I don't know.
That looked like total team control to me. I'm just kidding.
McLeod and Cody Ware.
Exactly. It was like a tag team deal.
And then BJ got crashed on pit road.
All right, so there you have it. James Davison, of course, he's the brothers to Will and Alex Davison, very great supercars drivers in Australia. He is a citizen of Melbourne, Australia. I'm glad to see, drivers come from the land down under. It's been a while since Marcos Ambrose, successful supercars driver, ran in NASCAR, and of course, he brought in 2 Cup Series victories with that. Now let's move on to the next one. We have Aston Martin. I think we were talking about earlier. Aston Martin, including Scott Dixon for the Bathurst 12 Hours lineup, has won 5 IndyCar championships. And we got another question from Daniel Pinkham again, and Blake Cool. We'll start with Daniel. Will we see someone do the double race in the Indianapolis 500 and Coke 600 again? And then, of course, Blake Cool says, personally, I feel like she should focus on the Indy 500. That's because that was on Danica Patrick, actually. Right. But let's start up with Daniel Pinkham there. The double, in case you're not wondering, the Indianapolis 500 and Coca-Cola 600 are run on the same day. It's a 500-mile race that starts, unlike most races, at noon Eastern time 11 a.m. local time.
The Coke 600 starts actually.
Or yeah, I think it's 5 o'clock Eastern.
No, 6.
Oh,
6
6.
Eastern.
6 Eastern. And
Yep.
usually the Indianapolis 500 ends around 3:30,
4 o'clock.
4
Like
Eastern.
That. It depends how the race.
The time you have between the end of the 500 to the beginning of the 600 is like so quick. And the transition time just in the week going from Indianapolis to Charlotte is big on its own.
Remember, Kurt Busch did that in 2014. He drove for Andretti in the number 26, and which he actually got Rookie of the Year in that he got Rookie of the Race and Indy. Then he jumped over on a plane, got to Charlotte to drive the Coke 600, where he finished 8th at the Indy 500, but blew up in the Coke 600.
John Andretti, actually, I believe he was the first one to successfully do it.
Tony Stewart did it too.
Yeah, John Andretti did that in 1994. Well, it was easier because the track had lights, therefore the race would actually become a night race, or a race that would go from the day and end in the dark. John Andretti did that.
Yeah, and then Tony did it after, right?
He was the first driver to do that.
Then Tony Stewart did that. I remember Tony did it.
Davy Jones in 1995 qualified in Indy, but failed to do so in Charlotte.
I know.
Robbie Gordon attempted the double duty 5 times.
Oh.
Wow.
5? Did he ever make it
yes.
or not? Wow.
Yes. His most recent, I believe, was
after Robbie.
Was 2004.
Was it then
Robbie Gordon?
No, Tony did it too. When did Tony Stewart do that?
Actually, 1999 and 2001.
Did he make both?
Well, yes, he did. Okay. Well, so here's the history. So looking at John Andretti, of course. He finished 10th in his first race. 36 in the Coke 600. Davy Jones, of course, DNQ'd in 95, though he finished 23rd in the Indy 500. Robbie Gordon in his first double, 29th at Indy, 41st at Charlotte. So not the best race, but Tony Stewart was the first driver to finish top 10 in both races.
Yeah.
In the Indy 500, he finished 9th and 4th at Joe Gibbs Racing, of course, in the Coke 600. Robbie Gordon, for the second time, 6th and 35th.
But then 2001, 6th and 3rd. 2002, Robbie Gordon, 8th, and but then.
Well, here, Robbie actually was credited with the race because he started the car.
Yeah, and
PJ Jones.
2004, Jacques Lazier took over during a rain delay and drove the final 61 laps in 04 for Robbie Gordon.
Though Robbie Gordon was credited with the race because he started it.
But they finished 29th, and then Robbie Gordon got 20th, and then Kurt Busch, 6th place in his Andretti Autosports Honda, but then finished 40th in the number.
He had an engine failure.
Yep.
At Charlotte. In fact, he wasn't the only one with engine failures too. It plagued Danica Patrick, his teammate, but who started third. Let me just get into that. Kurt Busch from 2014 is the most recent driver to do such a thing. I would love to see it again. And the candidates for the Indy 500 double can range from Kyle Busch, who seems probably the most likely, or even Kurt Busch, to even Larson, because Kyle Larson might. He's shown characteristics that have interested IndyCar teams. Yeah. Kyle Busch has tested an F1 car in the past. So take it as you will. The month of May is only 6 months away from now.
Yeah. There are possible candidates for doing that, but the problem is, the only thing that's not realistic is Monaco.
Of course not. Until we manage to, invent teleporting.
Yeah, because Fernando Alonso when he raced the Indy 500, he
Well, you
didn't
just have
really.
to sacrifice Monaco.
They put Jensen Button in that car, but Jensen Button didn't do that much good. He flipped over Pascal Verlaine.
Yeah, just before the tunnel. Maybe
Yeah,
Jimmy Johnson. Now Johnson has always hinted at racing the Indy 500. That's always something that he comes from off-road,
yeah. Before
stadium
his
truck racing.
yeah before his racing on pavement. Yeah, and he
All of a sudden, he becomes a good stock car driver in NASCAR. And this guy, I think his name is Jeff Gordon. Yeah, his name's Jeff Gordon. Comes over and says, "I want to hire you. I'm going to help field the car just to put you in there." And kind of takes the championships that Jeff Gordon was probably going to win in the future from Jeff himself.
because I remember some people when they saw his Bush series stats like, oh, he's not gonna do good in Cup.
But he had
83
this
wins,
driving style that was
but then
different, even though he won once.
it's weird. The Bush
It's
series
just showing this light
like
out of
weird.
Jimmy. That's
Like,
why Jeff convinced Rick enough to say, "Hey, let's put this car together." It's 48 car for Jimmy Johnson.
I remember when he went to remember remember when people thought, oh, he's gonna win, he's won and he's doing good in Cup Series. People thought he could dominate lower series. That did not happen.
Yeah, even though when he came down to the
Yeah,
racing of the series, it would be
the last time he did
Blake
that,
Cools just said it would be interesting to see Jensen race IndyCar. Absolutely, because Jensen Button he's not done racing yet. He just finished off a very successful run in the Super GT Championship, which is one of Japan's biggest sports car trophies. And Jensen Button, of course, he is the 2009 F1 World Champion.
Braun, GP.
Yeah, Braun, that one season they were in, he won a
Braun-
championship for them.
then Braun
Very
got-
good story.
But did Braun get bought by Mercedes?
I think they were.
Yeah, but yeah, I remember I was watching a
But
video.
still, it's a great story, feel good story. But Jensen Button, I would like to see him attempt the Indy 500 someday.
Yeah, like that would be interesting. That would be really interesting of seeing that because more F1 drivers trying the Indy 500 would be really cool.
I mean, that's always been a thing. Jim Clark won the Indy 500, Graham Hill, and you can name so many of them.
We know the only person
Jacques Villeneuve.
Yeah, we know
Juan Pablo Montoya twice.
Yeah, Montoya.
Takuma Sato, just to name a few. Simon Pagino. You get the point. Anyone can race there.
Wait.
Yes, Brown turned into Soros, but they're still running. I get the point there, Danny, but they're not entirely Brown unless Ross Brown on the team.
I remember, yeah.
Why can't I purchase the team?
Like, I literally was watching a video. At one point, Renault competed against itself. There was a Renault team and Lotus Renault. They were competing against Renault.
Yes,
Renault
Lotus. Kimi Raikkonen was one of their drivers. He was damn good.
I've just noticed the only team history in F1 that's not going to play against Haas. They've only raced since 2016.
Well, the Bozo's driving for them. I don't know if they can keep up the good work. They may need some new drivers, but I guess Gunther Steiner, the man who's running, I think Gene should take over that spot.
Armani.
If he could really wake up a little bit, what would you say?
Me and Armani will race for.
Oh, you and Armani will race? Oh, that's my spot. I'm driving F1. I don't care.
Are you gonna beat Lance Stroll or you'll get beaten by Lance Stroll?
I don't know. That depends if we make it through turn one.
Oh, just don't do like.
Okay, here's the realistic part. None of us are going to be Formula One drivers. I mean, maybe you will, Justin.
I don't think Lance Stroll spotter wants to fire Perez for me.
Hey, you're a fellow Canadian. He'll probably say, "Oh yeah, I'm taking you." Eh?
If I can't do good in Formula 2 or Formula 3, there's something wrong if I can't even get points. But
I need to be a millionaire first of all to form a team. That's just let's get that out of the way.
Or I don't want to be like Mahavin Ragahuntier, which he got suspended for a race for wrecking too much.
Yeah, because he's got points taken off his FIA license.
Yep, which is not the good thing to do. And I feel like racing a triple header will be the hardest thing. We don't have teleportation. I don't think
No. I'm sure someone's got to invent that. I'm still waiting.
The technology is not advanced.
Yeah, I mean, unless we can have some
If that would exist now, probably the thing would happen. Probably someone I don't know why. Maybe something's gonna malfunction. There's a big flame of fire, so that's what's
Yeah,
gonna.
and then we'll end up as a statistic as the first death of teleportation.
Yeah.
We don't
So.
want that.
Yep. Nope. We don't want that to happen.
Okay, so before we let's move on to our next segment. As there's no upcoming races, because we are in the midst of December, there's a look in the future that we have for events taking place over the winter break. Before the NASCAR season begins, we have some races that will be taking place and they'll look in the near future. So I highlighted
Oh, the
four
champ car.
events. So we have to cap off pretty much 2019, a Sebring New Year's Eve, which are twin 7-hour races for the Champ Car Endurance Series on December 28th. So probably some chilly conditions in Sebring, Florida, for some 7-hour events. The 24 Hours of Dubai, which always kicks off the 24H series at the Dubai circuit, marks off the beginning of the Champ of the 24H series. The 24 Hours
Champ
of Dubai.
car. No, that's
No.
We're not going that far.
Then, of course, you have the 2020 Chili Bowl Nationals from Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is an indoor arena
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
classic dirt track race,
We're
which
gonna
is on
have
January 13th that week. Pretty much a week.
January 18th.
Well, the week of track activity begins on the 13th because there's like hundreds and hundreds of entries.
And there's gonna be so many races, like the main event.
Yeah, all that stuff. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we'll see big names not make it. Every year it happens.
Just like the Snowball Derby.
Yep, and then we have next week.
And then, of course, we have the classic Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona on January 25th, which marks the beginning of the 2020 IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship calendar. And then, of course, you have after that, before Daytona on the Super Bowl weekend, you have the 12 Hours of Bathurst, which marked the Intercontinental GT Challenge beginning.
I was wondering, is IMSA? Wait, I heard. Is this true that Daytona won't pay out points this time? There's no.
I don't know. That's a good question. Either way, it's still a crown jewel event, and it's not going to matter much because sports car racing is revolved around the big races rather than the championship. Even though I'm not trying to discredit anybody who's won a championship in the sports car series, but still.
I'm just checking. I don't even know. It doesn't even say of a point.
Maybe you're thinking about the Michelin Sprint Cup or something like that.
They were saying about
the GT Daytona class.
Oh, technical regulations. Nope, that's not about LMP2 cars. No, it's not that I need to know. I don't need the IMSA prototype challenge. I think
Let's look into that later, but
I don't remember.
It's going to be a great race for sure. The 24 Hours of Daytona never fails to disappoint. I mean, the 2019 race was good until apparently, Mother Nature decided to dump buckets on us.
Yeah, the bad weather, which I said.
It was I was excited for rain because, hey, rain makes the race exciting. But then it started to get worse and worse, and then the track became a pool. Did you see the grass area?
Yep.
Remember how soggy, water was here, the grass was here. It was unbelievably bad.
On that restart, they had a crash. I remember what I said a couple months later about.
There were 3 red flag periods.
You were thinking about the rain that you thought I was talking about NASCAR, but I told you they should have used ice tires at Daytona for the Rolex 24 because it was so slippery. Yeah, that.
Now, if you were racing at Watkins Glen in January, that would make sense, even though that wouldn't be ideal at all.
But maybe.
Hey, the 6 hours of Spa, remember that?
Oh, the snow.
Yeah, there was actual sleet on the track under the safety cars, and they didn't even red flag them once.
It was in May also, which is weird.
Yeah, the first weekend of May, very unusual. But in Belgium and with the high altitude, it's not that uncommon. But for it to happen in May, it's completely uncommon.
Yeah, because So what else?
All right, so 2018 was bad. I think it was a little lackluster of a 24-hour race, in my opinion. There were only 4 safety cars, and most of the DPI class, which is the overall category, were having problems,
they only
which basically made everything non-competitive.
Remember the 5 car? Remember the 5 had issues? They had so much.
But they still managed to win the race.
They had engine issues, but they still won by like 30 seconds over the 31. But 2017, the year before, had a lot of caution. I heard 2016 had 22 yellows. 2017 had,
including that controversial incident in
Delta
turn 1
wing.
with the Delta wing. They should have been a safety car, that it was sitting there for a long time.
The Starworks 8 car was stalled instead of throwing.
And the Delta wing, who finally had some luck, which if you remember the Delta wing, they were not.
Oof.
It was a bad concept. Not trying to discredit. It was unique for its time, because like, what kind of car is shaped like this with the 2 wheels like that, 2 little wheels in the front? It's just unbelievably crazy, and I would like to see that car back.
Wait, and also recently it was announced Mason Diaz will drive full-time for Venerini in the ARCA E series, like the former K&N E series, the ARCA E.
Yes.
Venerini will run full-time with Mason Diaz, starting at New Smyrna, which is race 1.
I think that's good.
Mason Diaz has raced for part-time with Brandon Brown's team, and he did good in his couple.
He's a very decent driver, actually. More decent than many people say.
But him racing for Venerini, which is a good team, he might be competing like with Sam Mayer, which Sam Mayer wins the title. He'll have 2 in a row titles, and Ian will be totally happy about that. Sam Mayer with 2 titles.
Okay, so I think we almost have everything covered. I just want to get into the truck series. I know the truck series had probably one of the most competitive seasons, if not ever, in 2019. What's the picture going to be like in 2020 now? I mean,
2020. So far, we have a competitive field. Like, we have four full-time trucks. Before we only had 2 full. Remember, we only had 2 full-time trucks last year for GMS. We have 4 this year, with Sheldon Creed, that's driving the number 2. The
23, Brett Moffitt.
Brett Moffitt moves to 23. The 20.
Zane Smith.
In the 24.
Probably Sam Mayer.
Nope. No, 21 Zane Smith. Then the 20. Okay, that was loud. 26. Who's the 26? 26 of
me. I'm driving the 26.
No, it's Tyler Ankrum.
Just kidding.
And then part-time 24 will be Sam Mayer, which we have also 1 DGR truck confirmed, 1 Thor Sport truck confirmed, the Hallmark Friesen 52 of Friesen.
Yeah, and they're new Toyotas.
Jared Eckes full-time for KBM.
Yeah, Lassard, Christian Eckes for Kyle Busch Motorsports.
Chandler Smith, Kyle Busch, so far known for the 51.
I would love to see Chandler Smith race full-time. If there weren't for the age restrictions, he probably would have
get a championship. In ARCA yet. He's 18.
So good.
He has to run.
Something about Chandler Smith, man, that always makes me intrigued every time I watch him out there. Just unbelievably fast.
He can't even race the main ARCA. He has to be 18. He's only 17 till June. So he'll have to run like ARCA East or West for now.
I don't care. Don't rush him. He's so good.
Like, you seen how he's doing? Like, he has 4 truck starts, 3 top 5s.
And it's 3-1 Panthers.
Like he has 3 top 5s and 4 top 10s and 4 truck starts. 19 top 10s and 20 ARCA starts.
All right, Blake just asked in the chat, what are the changes for the 2020 Truck Series calendar? Well, most of them aren't. I don't think we have any track removals, right? Oh, Martinsville loses their first date.
And Richmond gets a date for the trucks.
In place for Martinsville, even though the date's apart.
Gateway is the race before the
And pretty much every race weekend of the Cup Series that has changed, that still has a Truck Series race with them, changes as well. Does that make sense?
Somebody from Colorado just got injured for the Avalanche. Gerard, number 49, I think he hit his nose pretty hard because he was bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
No, the puck hit his nose. Number 17 hit the puck in his nose. Ew.
Oh, that's painful.
Yep.
When I played hockey, I remember taking the puck to the body. The puck's
Yeah.
unforgivingly painful.
Wow, it's only been like a minute in the game. No, no,
Who are
not
they
even
playing?
that. St. Louis versus
So that's a
Colorado.
Central Division matchup.
They're playing
While
in
the Panthers and Senators are both in the Atlantic.
yeah. They're actually like about like the truck series. Like there's not much changes. There's not much except there's drivers returning or new drivers and do the tracks different schedule. Like the truck race for the first time at Atlanta. The truck race is before the Xfinity race on the Saturday. Usually was Xfinity first, truck after, which we've seen that the last couple of years until 2015. The truck race was actually on Friday night. Then 2016 was after the Xfinity race till 2019. 2020 they moved it to now before, which I remember in 2019 when coverage was not the best. Remember when they had limited cameras because remember some of the cameras were like frozen because of rain and cold. Like literally some of the camera angles were
I'm trying to remember. I think I do.
yeah, there were like frozen cameras, and they had a big one at the end on the front straightaway with Jessy Little and a couple other trucks involved. Like
Very interesting.
yeah,
Looking right now on the NASCAR Xfinity schedule.
they have Martinsville again. That's race 32. Mid Ohio's in May. Road America is after Iowa. Iowa and and Road America will be on CNBC now because the Olympics are there. What else? Oh, doubleheader Pocono for the Cup Series. So Pocono, the Truck Series date is on Saturday at noon. Xfinity race will be Sunday at noon because the first Cup race on the Saturday. Whoever finishes 23rd will be
yeah,
on
the trucks. Sorry to cut you off there, Justin, but Blake, the trucks have always been at a Mosport since 2013.
Yeah, and remember, the guy that finishes 23rd in race 1 will be on the pole for race 2. So if you see like JJ Yaley.
Oh, because they invert the field.
So if JJ Yaley finishes 23rd, he'll get a pole. That would be bad. A slow Rick Ware car holding up half the field, which we know.
Which kind of adds to the fun of it. Although I'd rather see it happen in like an all-star race. Does that make sense?
That'll be bad. Rick Ware racing car just gets passed on the straightaway.
They'll be treated like a lap car.
Yeah, I remember when that happened when Corla joined the 72 started like 11th because a lot of cars in the back of the field. And Logano literally got hood damage.
I have a question too. This might be an interesting one, but when the field gets inverted, will the pole sitter be counted to enter in the shootout at Daytona?
I don't think so. I don't think.
The clash, whatever they call it now.
I don't think.
That's an interesting question.
I don't think because I don't want to see like a.
I would like to see a Starcom car out there.
Quinn House somehow gets the pole. Oh,
but he's probably going to do what Terry Labonte did in his last three races back in what's it called? Back in the clash, just fade to the back. But
not the Woodburst.
I don't have that low expectations for a driver. Not even Terry Labonte back then.
Remember when we had why do I keep forgetting what I was going to say?
Yeah.
Remember Casey Mears when he started on the pole at Bristol because of,
They used practice times or something.
And he was the fastest. He actually held on for a number of laps. He didn't fall back right away. He actually led part of the race. But we've seen Germain Racing win a stage with Ty Dillon. Remember Ty Dillon edged Clint Boyer for a stage win?
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen small teams up front at Bristol recently with
especially with Matt D.
Remember Matt Mendo finishing 6th? Clint Boyer actually finished 7th, but do you want to know who led 20 laps in that race? Landon Castle driving for front row in the 38 led 20 laps.
I remember that.
He held off Kevin Harvick in a Stewart Haas car. I'm like, holy crap.
That was cool.
I'm like, wow, Landing Castle. I know that anybody that doesn't know, ARCA starts in February. They have January testing first at Daytona, but then they
Yes,
have
they do.
the main race, the Daytona 200, on February 8th, the day before the Clash, which they literally do this. That they announce their schedule for the, the
Isn't the ARCA series already scheduled?
yeah, but they don't know TV schedule. The only thing we know about that,
Is that Daytona has TV?
it's probably FS1. Fox Sports will air 8 races, not 5, 8, but 8 races, 8 races. The other 12 will be broadcast by MAV TV Motorsports Network, which, because because usually we don't see FS1 like broadcast like a small short track race, because MAV TV usually does that. But Fox Sports will still broadcast IMSA. IMSA. IMSA.
No.
They'll broadcast ARCA. We're not. Oh my goodness! I don't know where my mind's going right now.
It's okay, man. I feel you. It's finals week. I get you.
Yep, no Singapore Grand Prix for IndyCar.
Yeah, I accidentally called St. Petersburg Singapore that one
I don't.
episode we had 2 weeks ago.
Yep. No, 3 weeks ago. That was the
Oh,
podcast
yeah.
before
So yeah, I'm looking at the ARCA schedule. We have a very good. So we got the Daytona 200, of course, on February 8th to kick off speed
ISM.
weeks.
ISM.
ISM March 6th. In Salem,
Yeah.
of course. Talladega 200. Obviously, that's a crown jewel event. Charlotte is back
Yeah,
on
Charlotte.
the Coke 600 weekend. Mid Ohio returns. Or I don't even know if it's their first ever appearance.
It's been a while. They've raced there in the 60s.
So it's been a way long back here,
Then
but good to
June.
see them returning. They're going to be with the same weekend as the NASCAR Xfinity Series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because
Michigan, I think that's a companion with NASCAR.
yep. That's
Chicagoland,
companion.
Pocono.
Companion. Then while NASCAR Xfinity Cup are at Indy, Lucas Oil Raceway will have ARCA there on
Yes, which is a traditional date,
Friday.
even though it's different.
Okay, July 17th, Elko, July 11th, the shortest track in ARCA, which is literally 0.375 miles, literally a short track.
Then you have Iowa Speedway in Newton, of course.
World WWT Raceway at Gateway, which is Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway.
Blake, that's correct.
Madison's August 7th. August 14th, we go back to Watkins Glen, which I remember when Blaze Alexander could have won until a stupid lap car decided to ruin his race.
Okay.
Late, basically.
Yeah, that's a little NSFW.
Okay, after that, we go to Illinois State Fairgrounds on the 23rd. September 5th, we go to DuQuoin. Bristol for the first time in ARCA, I think. Probably going to be ARCA breaks, maybe. On September 26th. And the final race at Kansas Speedway.
But yeah, I think Kansas as the season finale for another year. I think ARC is gonna have a good season, in my opinion.
Yeah. They also have 10 of those. They also have 10 races which are showdown events, which that starts at ISM, Salem, Mid Ohio, Lucas Oil, Elko, Iowa.
Oh, they're in bold. I'm on Wikipedia because that's more. I don't know. I feel like Wikipedia, even though it may not be fully credential, it has the better organization.
I'm on the ARCA website and it actually says a logo.
Wikipedia is better for me.
For me, ARCA Racing's website says next to the race it says ARCA Menard Series Showdown and a big logo. So
there's like a lot of showdown races. Okay, and what is a showdown race? What is that supposed to be?
I don't actually know.
Like, what's the purpose of it? Maybe it's just added points, or it's like a little championship that goes with it. Like the showdown championship.
I know it's gonna be a Friday race, 5 p.m. Mountain Time. So it's gonna be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The race. but I don't know. I don't know what it means. I think it's like a. I don't know if it's a crown jewel or something. I don't know. I know Talladega is not one of them. There's
I
only
think there's a short track. I believe.
yeah,
I may not be
Salem.
entirely correct, but I think
Yeah,
it involves the drivers that are underage.
we have Salem, Lucas Oil, Elko, Bristol, and Memphis are the short tracks.
Yeah.
Shout out because
Okay, now let's move on to the next category. We have, of course, the Champ Car Endurance Series racing. Don't be confused with IndyCar. This is not an IndyCar. This
nope.
is an endurance series. Noel Char just got a hat trick for the Florida Panthers, first of his career.
Like about the Champ Car, I heard April 11th is going to be one of my April 11th will be actually the 14 hours Daytona, which I followed some of the Champ Car Endurance Series, but no offense, uh, for people that want to start watching it, the Champ Car Endurance Series, by the way, just for people just wanting to watch it, usually you can watch it on YouTube and just don't. It's not going to be good quality. It's mainly just showing onboard cameras of stuff of them, or showing the commentators looking at the cars and looking at their phones. But we've seen different cars like a Chevy
That is so
Cash.
cool.
We've seen
Sorry, it's
different.
just all indulged with hockey.
We see cars, different types of cars that
Oh, were
change.
you talking about the Champ Car Endurance Series?
Yeah, we're saying
Oh
about
yeah, I'm at the 2020 schedule right now. So we kick off with the 14 hours of road in Atlanta,
oh,
and
that's
then Sonoma. There's a 7 hour race
okay. So
on
no,
February 15th, so the weekend of the Daytona 500. And then March 7th, you have the 12 hours of VIR at Virginia International Raceway.
right.
Harris Hill Speedway has an 8 hour race and a 7 hour race on the same weekend. NCM Motorsports Park in Bowling Green, Kentucky has an 8 plus 7 hour enduro, so 2 races on the same weekend. And then, of course, the crown jewel race of the season is the 14 hours of Daytona on April 11th.
Oh, that race.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, me and you watched it.
Mm-hmm.
That first
Fun
one.
race. I highly suggest you watch it. It's one of my favorite races of the year. Then you have an 8 hour race and a 7 hour race sharing the same weekend at Road Atlanta. And on the Charlotte Roval, you have a 14 hour race on April
Oh yeah.
25th. I'm
Those,
going to watch that. That's probably one of maybe my favorite races to pick out.
it's one thing. It's gonna be interesting. Remember, it's not the old Charlotte layout. They're gonna have the current chicane on the
They
back
raced
straight.
there last year.
Yeah, which was the old Cup Series chicane, the fast one. This is you have to slow
Now they have a
down.
newer chicane. You can go further down in the corner.
And one thing,
Let's see what else we have here. The Watkins Glen has twin 7 hour races
yep.
on May 22nd. Then actually, no, 8 plus 8. I don't know what that means, but 8 hour race at Circuit of the Americas.
No, that means 2 8-hour races.
Oh, double 7 hour enduros from Canadian Tire. Looking at Willow Springs in California, they have an 8 and a 7 hour race. Dude, look at this. Palm Beach International Raceway.
What?
I want to be in the race.
What are you gonna bring? What car?
My own car.
Don't destroy.
Yeah, would they allow my Lexus IS in the race? Probably not.
Well, we were looking on that website for a car. Remember with that day we were looking up, Joseph. Remember the day we were looking up.
Yes, and we made a mock race car with a mock
we,
budget, and we completely overspent.
Yeah, remember we were trying to start our own.
We had a 2001 Volvo S40,
yeah,
and we put the parts together. How much money did we spend? Like about 25 grand.
Yeah, I remember we were looking for an ARCA team, and we had like over $100,000. We were looking for ARCA bodies, ARCA engine, and we looked at how much the fees were, like $8,000. That would be bad starting an ARCA team. And what are we gonna do when we
need the fundings clearly?
And we'll get Ronnie Osborne to drive.
Yes, we'll put Ronnie Osborne, our guest from 2 weeks ago.
And we'll put World Racing Media on the car.
There we go. Now we're talking. Now we need a go-kart team. Let's
go-karts.
let's see what else. So we have. We're just looking down. So we were at Palm Beach International Race. So that's July 11th, 12th. In fact, if I'm not driving in the race, I'll probably be there in person. Double 7-hour races, and then of course you have an 8+7-hour race in Garrettsville, Ohio, Nelson's Ledge road course, and then Utah and Tweely, 8+7-hour enduros. VIR has a 24-hour race in August 8th. Ooh, there's a lot of races in the Ginger Man Raceway. What a name!
Ginger Man Raceway. What the?
I mean, that's in South Haven, Michigan. It's an 8+7-hour enduro. Like Calabogie and Motorsports Park in Ontario of an 8+7-hour race weekend. Thompson Speedway will have a 12-hour race in Connecticut. Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course will have double 10-hour races. That should be fun. Harris Hill Raceway in San Marcos, Texas will have an 8+7-hour enduro. Pittsburgh International Race Complex. I've never seen in Pennsylvania, an 8+7-hour enduro.
Okay.
Run America on October 24th in breezy, chilly weather will have 8+7-hour endurance races. Dawsonville, Georgia, the Atlanta Motorsports Park, home of the Elliots. It's an 8+7-hour enduros. And then Auto Club Speedway, they have a road course, and they'll put it to use on Halloween 2020 for an 8+7-hour enduros at Fontana, California. Sebring will have a 14-hour race on November 7th. So,
November 7th. That's
your birthday.
18th birthday will be on that day.
We're getting old. Virginia International Raceway will have another weekend with an 8+7-hour enduro, and to cap off the season, Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama will have an 8+7-hour enduro. So, wow, that's going to be a fun season for the Champ Car Endurance Series.
And no offense, guys, don't mock their team names. Some team names are really funny. Like some person is Car Broke Racing. Like some people.
No money. Well, that's because it's not really a national series.
No,
it's just
it's not like a serious team. Like you should get the game automation. Okay, but we should. But like racing there, it would be a lot of a budget when.
Who would be the drivers for the 7-hour race at Palm Beach International Race? Would be me and Armani.
Yeah. Well,
maybe Ronnie Osborne.
What car are you gonna use?
I don't know. Would I want to put my Lexus out there? Maybe not.
Don't use an old Chevy Cavalier because that car is made out of plastic.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, buy a Dodge Neon. There we go.
I found a Dodge Neon on a local website for only $1.
Are you kidding me?
But it almost has 1 million kilometers, which
that's bullshit.
You want to be weird? That car, we get into it. Not even on.
I'm sure the door handle doesn't even work.
That'll be bad. Turn on the car. We can't even leave the pit road, and the car just stalls out.
What do you expect if you put a bucket in a car?
Ooh. Yeah, because I wouldn't like to stall. Leaving pit road, car stalls right away. That would be bad. Racing there. Driver. You're like a hometown driver waving the crowd. You turn on the car, move like 2 feet, car stalls out. People will be embarrassed.
Yeah. So I think we are kind of running out of time. So any final thoughts you guys want to say or just put out there? Go ahead.
I had a lot of fun today.
That's good.
Wait. Also, check out the races and during or if you have Mav TV, go watch random figure 8 racing like I did last week.
Figure 8 racing is great.
Until
the guy crossing you hits you.
Yeah, that's not fun when that happens. And also, if you're into college football, about some stuff like that. If you're into college football, if people are.
Formula 2 is all done, Blake. But I'm sure there's a good future ahead of them.
I know there was testing. Recently there was winter testing.
Yeah, testing in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I've seen a couple. Also about what was it? Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting what I was gonna say. If you're college football fans, bowl games start on Friday afternoon with the trying to remember the name of it. 20th. It's the Bahama Bowl, the Bahamas Bowl, Buffalo versus Charlotte, and the Frisco Bowl, Utah versus Kent State. Those are the first two bowl games if you're into college football,
I'm trying to get myself into college football.
and the NFL right now, Monday Night Football, Colts at Saints with no score yet.
All right, so yeah, I think we got it, Blake. We definitely will get enough to the next episode. Jesse, thank you for joining. It's a great pleasure. All right, so I think that caps it off. I'm finally done with school
Well,
for now.
Well,
Still got to tackle the spring.
I still have a semester to. I
You're
still have.
you're almost there, Justin. That
Yeah.
semester's your next semester is going to fly by faster than a prototype down the Mulsanne Strait.
Yeah, like I didn't expect the first semester to go fast because usually, for me, the first semester goes so slow.
But then the next semester usually goes a bit faster.
I'm actually getting stuff done in all my classes, which is kind of important. Because I don't want anything to be incomplete. I basically have to do everything. Even if it takes a while to do, I'm still gonna have to do it. Like I can't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this next semester," even if like mechanics only one semester. So I'll have to finish it this semester, which I'm almost done. Which most of the time for I have just two engines to do, which the other engine, which I had to finish.
It sounds so cool.
I literally have to go to class during like homeroom class or at lunch to finish it, which I only got half an engine. That engine had no fuel tank or anything. My friend's like, "Why did you get half an engine?" I'm like, "I don't know. That's how I got it." Oh, the playoffs.
All right, so I think that caps it off. Have a great holidays, and we'll see you next week. Catch you on the flip.